Hey everyone, welcome to another video on Blender Geometry Nodes. In this video, we will see about Spline Parameter node. This is part of the Curve Read Node section. I release new videos on a weekly basis. Please subscribe to my channel so that you will be notified when I upload a new video. This is Jay from CJ Academy. Let's start. I have my custom workspace setup. I'll share the link in the description. You can take a look how to set it up. Today we are going to see about Curve Read Spline Parameter node. Spline Parameter node is one of the powerful nodes in the Curve Read section. This gives crucial data for you to manipulate the curves. We'll see about an example of what data it has. Let's take the Bezier node, connect it to viewer, okay, and connect the factor value. Need to set the attribute text. Factor output is displayed, okay, that is also available in the spreadsheet editor. If you come to the control point, you can see the viewer node has 0 and 1, that is the factor value. On the curve from the start point to the end point, gradually the value is progressing from 0 to 1, that is the factor value. Even length will be somewhat similar. The total length will be calculated along the curve points. To explain this a bit more, I will bring in another node called subdivide curve. Okay, now you see as soon as I introduced another point, so that is divided one more time, this gives a approximate value of that particular point. It's a factor value. You cannot think this as like 3 control points I have and 0 to 1 is there, so it will be divided into equally 3 parts. No, this is more like from the start point to the end point, somewhat lesser than the half, even if you see visibly. So for that reason, it's given a exact value of where it is in the curve geometry. Now if I add one more, then you can see this is close to somewhat close to the middle, so it's giving 0.58 and this has moved to 0.27. So factor value is starts from 0 and ends at 1, and whatever the curve points you introduce in between, based on that the factor value is decided. This can be used to gradually increase any geometry property. Okay, that is what we will see in example. And length, as I told already, this is the overall length, and the length will be calculated based on the point, the curve evaluated point at that position. So from here it is 0.58, then 1.22, then 2. Now what is this index? This index is not the same index we saw in the geometry read notes. No, this is a different index. To explain this, we need at least two geometries, two curve geometries. So for that reason, let's bring in one more, a spiral, and we need a joint geometry. Okay, let's connect this. Let's ignore this attribute text for now. Okay, now I have two curves. One is the Bezier curve and another the spiral curve. And you can already see it's kind of gradually increasing the strength. That is also an indication of this factor value or the length value. Okay. Now index value, notice I will connect this to the viewer node and you can see the difference here in the spreadsheet editor. So 0, 1, 2, 3, but at 4 it is 0. Then again by 5 it starts 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's not exactly the same as the index value we have here. This index value or the actual geometry index value is summation of all the geometries together. So it will take from the running number of 0 until the last point we have. But this index node calculates for each spline separately. That means the Bezier node had 4 points. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3 until here. Then it ends. Then for the spiral node, the next index count started. This is something you have to be careful when you handle the spline index. So spline index is different, or the spline parameter index value is different from the normal index value you have. This is calculated for each curve separately. Index value is taken as a complete geometry altogether. Now let's see one example. Okay, that's with the set curve radius property, because you see the factor value. I'll show you again. Factor value is gradually increasing. Okay, now if you see, I'll show here. The difference you see, it's already showing up in the curve line. So if as soon as I added the factor, you see how it's gradually increasing the thickness. So that is exactly what we are going to imitate with the example. For that, let's bring in set curve radius node. Okay. We don't need to visualize it anymore. We know what it is. Let's try to bring the geometry. So we have joined both geometries together. Okay, and we are having a radius point. So this radius value will be given as the factor value. That means gradually from the start to the end, it will have the thickness varying or the radius value varying. And you can see that also probably here somewhere. Is it? Yeah, here it is. If you see, this is visible in the radius column. Okay, we have set the radius, and if you see, it's gradually increasing to 1, because it's not exactly the radius value, but we have fed the factor value as the radius value. So it will start at 0, okay, and will gradually increase it to 1. Okay, now for this, let's bring in curve to mesh node. It's our go to node for converting curve to mesh, and bring in the circle value, mesh circle. Okay, you can see it's already making some difference, but it is too much. Let's reduce this to 0.2. You can see the difference. So this is it's a good horn-like structure. A Bezier node connected with spline parameter can create a horn. Please guys make a note of it. So you can use it for creating horns in an instant. Okay, so let's coming back to here. So it starts from 0 and completes at 1. And then again for the next curve starts with 0, gradually increasing to 1. Okay, that's here it is 1. And by changing this rotation, this will propagate for how many circles you have. That is for the factor value. Length also similar, it will gradually increase. You can use it where you want. Okay, and index value, as I said, it is taken for separate values. Now what happens if I remove a particular point in this spline? For that, let's connect this to viewer node. Again, let's bring in the delete geometry. Now we need to see the viewer node, so let's enable this again, the factor value. Okay, so I have connected it. I connected the factor, but you see nothing is there because delete geometry just deleted everything. So that's what's happening here. We want to select only one point and then delete it. So for that, let's bring in the index node here. We want to make a selection, connect it. That also kind of deletes everything. Now let's bring in the compare node. And this is integer value. Okay, index is integer value. And greater than 0, everything is deleted. Now less than, if I put, you can see the spline is here. Okay, let's increase the subdivision further, so we have more points, but then I will delete one point from here, so that is maybe first index, and let's put this to equal, not 0, but I'll put 2, so you can see the difference. So now I'm deleting the first point somewhere, it was here, so it is deleted. That means the next point is here, then further here, further here. And gradually if I delete this, so you can see how the values are changing. Okay, so and gradually disappearing, if you see. Okay, then it is gone. And if I go for greater than or equal, this is where the interesting part happening. So if you see, the curve is gradually propagating, and if I put less than or equal, it's like disappearing value. Okay, like you are erasing that curve. See, so this can be used in a geometry creation. Okay, so let's do that. So delete geometry setup is ready. Now this particular delete geometry, okay, we have used it for this setup here. Let's add it to this one. The setup, let it be here, no problem. And instead of connecting this, connect this to the viewer, and this whole setup, let's move it a bit to this side and connect this delete geometry to the set curve radius node. And let's go back to disable this. It's connected to the viewer. Let's disconnect the value. We don't need the value because we can see it clearly. And now by imitating this value, see, you can gradually make it appear or disappear. Okay, this is very useful for some animation types. And here I have added the index. So if you see, and same way, if I go for greater than or equal, it's an appearing effect. So this value can be keyframed and can be used for creating animation. And if you want this as a solid, you can always close it, so you get the full value. And This means you can put this in z-axis, okay, and leave this as 0, that is so that you get a straight curve. And if you change now, you get an interesting effect for this. See, very easy to create some interesting effects on this. So this is the power of spline parameter. A kind of growth effect on any geometry you create can be achieved using this kind of setup. So yeah, that's it about the spline parameter node. If you find this video useful, please like it, share it with your friends. If you want me to cover any specific topic in Blender geometry nodes, please let me know in the comment section. Of course, if you have questions about this topic, please feel free to ask. Please subscribe to my channel. I will see you in another cool video. Thank you. Bye.